Hi, everyone. Welcome to Democracy in 5 Minutes. I'm your host, Paul Manna, coming to you from Williamsburg, Virginia, where I'm a professor of government and public policy at William & Mary. In last week's episode, we introduced the idea of how institutions, like the different branches of government, federalism, and laws in the Constitution, help to safeguard American democracy. We call these things guardrails because of the protections that they provide. I want to continue discussing the guardrail metaphor today by linking these ideas to some of the ongoing controversies that have emerged with President Trump's huge reliance on executive orders these last couple of months. By the end of this episode, I hope you'll understand the role that these executive orders can play in American democracy, and also why there are serious concerns with how the president has used this governing tool. That's the plan for today, so let's go ahead and jump right in. I want to begin with a quick explanation of what executive orders are. In the United States, an executive order is a directive from the president that tells federal government agencies how to carry out current law and at times how to coordinate their efforts. Importantly, executive orders do not require congressional approval. They are not laws, and that's a point that I'll come back to in a moment. They are, though, a common tool that all presidents, especially since Franklin Roosevelt, have used to help them govern. In his first couple of months in office in 2025, President Trump has issued a record-breaking number of executive orders for a president at this point in his term. Through April 2nd, Trump has issued 111 executive orders. Now, by comparison, during his first term, he issued a total of 220 across all 4 years. So he's already hit half of that number only in a couple of months in his second term. What is the basis for presidents using this tool of executive orders? Well, their authority comes from Article 2 of the U.S. Constitution, which says that the president is the head of the executive branch, and one of the president's duties is to take care that the law is faithfully executed. Executive orders can be helpful as presidents carry out that role, and that point really is not controversial. But that constitutional language also is a source of some of the challenges that have claimed President Trump has exceeded his authority in several of his executive orders. Now, what is the basic claim here? In a nutshell, although the president has the authority to use executive orders to help him execute the law, the president cannot use these orders in ways that change or contradict current law or the Constitution. The reason, again, goes back to the Constitution itself. Article 1 defines Congress as the lawmaking branch, so if an executive order conflicts with current law, then people can challenge the order by turning to the courts. An example of this dynamic has emerged from one of the president's executive orders from February that terminated tens of thousands of probationary federal employees all at once. It was a mass firing. This included probationary employees who were new to the federal government and also those with lots of experience who had been promoted but who were probationary in their new job. The employees challenged this order as violating the law and procedures that govern federal employment. A federal judge agreed with them by calling the firings unlawful, invalid, and that they must be stopped and rescinded. Another example from March was an executive order that tried to change election procedures, including requiring people to show proof of citizenship to vote and also requiring that all ballots be in by election day. There have been multiple cases challenging this executive order, including one from 19 states' attorney general. These folks have made several different arguments, including that the president's executive order violates the principle of federalism in the U.S. Constitution, and also that it breaks important laws, including the Voting Rights Act. These examples reveal how the courts, the states, the laws that Congress writes, and the Constitution itself provide guardrails that prevent the president from single-handedly taking over the lawmaking function with executive orders. The authors of the Constitution explicitly designed American democracy to prevent that type of action from the president. So, what does today's discussion mean for you, and how can you use these ideas? I hope it helps you to understand that President Trump cannot simply claim that he can direct the executive branch to do whatever he wants through his executive orders. When Trump speaks this way, he muddles together two very different roles. One role of being the leader of the nation versus another role of being the leader of his private companies. Now, when he runs his businesses, what he says goes. Nobody has a problem with that. But that's not how American democracy works. I also hope today's discussion helps you understand which institutions are available to you and others for acting if you believe presidents are trying to govern like kings. When you see people pushing back against some of these executive orders in the courts or Congress or the states, what you're seeing is folks activating a guardrail of American democracy. Importantly, those guardrails aren't just about limiting President Trump's power. It's nothing against him personally. These guardrails have limited past presidents, and they will continue to limit future presidents as well. So that's where we'll wrap up today's episode. We'll continue to probe this topic of institutions as guardrails again next week. As I mentioned last time, there's a lot to discuss here, and I hope you'll tune in to hear our future conversations. Until then, please take good care, folks, and I'll hopefully see you soon. Bye-bye.